You're about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Well, the country is worried about our commander-in-chief. President Joe Biden had this weekend withdrawn from his re-election campaign. There was a very eloquent letter that was posted, that had been posted and circulating. People have been questioning if he wrote it, if that's really his signature. And so now, unfortunately, there's lots of rumors circulating that, is he okay? Does he have cancer? I think some of these rumors had been started when I think Frank Biden had said, we want to cherish whatever time we have left with him. And so it's been obviously very, very unsettling because he still is our commander in chief. We're being very distracted with, who's going to run for him? Who's going to now be, is it going to be Kamala Harris? What's going to happen at the Democratic convention? But I'm still worried about the guy. I'm still, okay. I mean, he's still our president. I want to know that he's okay. So we have a small update from his doctor. We don't really get a lot of information. And so Kevin O'Connor, Joe Biden's physician, who has been under a lot of scrutiny for not doing cognitive testing and an MRI of the brain to see if he has another aneurysm or blood clot or ischemic issues or atrophy or tumor. And so Kevin O'Connor apparently did give a statement saying, but it was mostly about his COVID. He said President Biden completed his 8th dose of Paxlovid, his antiviral COVID medication this morning. His symptoms have improved significantly. His pulse, blood pressure, respiratory rate, and temperature remain absolutely normal. His oxygen saturation continues to be excellent on room air. His lungs remain clear. He says the president continues to tolerate treatment without any difficulty and will continue Paxlovid as planned. He continues to perform all of his presidential duties. And Dr. O'Connor said, I will continue to keep your office updated with any changes in his condition or treatment plan. And I know people said that he had corrected a statement. So this correction has nothing to do with Parkinson's or his cognitive. He said that in his Saturday update, he incorrectly overstated the prevalence of the strain COVID-19, the strain of COVID-19 that Biden had, saying it accounts for 33% of the national COVID infections when it accounts for only 12.8%. So I know people were asking, for some real meat and potatoes on what's happening with the president, and we're not getting it. He was, kind of busting his butt, the days after the debate. I thought he was being a little overworked to try to show how his stamina and how he can. And so I completely understand. And we had predicted that he would not be able to, move forward with the second term. In terms of finishing out his remaining months as president, I mean, he still has about 5 months left. And so this is over 5 months. So this is concerning. Right now, there not a lot of pictures, not a lot of statements. And listen, he has COVID, let him recover. But I hope he's healthy. I hope he's well. There's now going to be a lot of drama in the coming weeks, especially leading up to the Democratic convention. Are people going to support Kamala Harris? Is she popular enough? Is she disliked? What's going to happen? The Democratic Party is in a little bit of chaos, but they think they can at least rebound with her over him. But, the health of our president has been something that's been kind of glossed over because Obama looked pretty fit. Trump looked pretty fit. He did his cognitive test. Anytime somebody gave him crap about something, he did the test, showed it. So with this, because there's been a lot of privacy, shall we say, and not a lot of transparency, people are very, very concerned. And the topic that keeps coming up is what transparency should be demanded of the commander in chief. And even though from a patient standpoint, we all deserve our privacy with our colonoscopies, etc., the U.S. needs to know if our commander in chief is making the decisions and if he's capable of making the decisions and split second decisions. And it has just been one PR cluster after another with, well, no events after 8 p.m. He's trying to sleep more. That's just not what the public wants. That's what our foreign enemies want, but that's not what the public wants. They want to know that at the drop of a dime, our president can just, function and make the decisions that have to be made. And this has been very, very embarrassing. It's been very embarrassing for the Democrats, but it's also been very, very embarrassing for our country. And I don't want to hear a bunch of I told you so's. I don't think that's going to help, but I think we've learned our lesson. I think we're going to go in the wrong direction if we make this all about age. Nobody wants to say it was cognitive. And the reason why we hear from the left how they don't want to talk about cognitive is because with the border crisis and some of these other decisions that have been made, the Chinese balloon, people are going to say that he was not of sound mind. So at least with age, there's a little bit of a buffer in terms of criticism of the policies and the presidency. Look, I don't want us to just go after age, because you have 40-year-olds that could be incompetent when they run the country. You could have, an 80-year-old who has wisdom. Biden kept saying it's wisdom. With age comes wisdom, with wisdom, with wisdom. I think there is, if we don't have our baby boomers or our traditionalists represented, so we can't just cut off age, because then that sort of metric is going to be used for other things, saying, well, with healthcare, if they're not fit to be president over the age of 70 or 74, then they're not fit to do other things. Or you really got to be very, very careful. You have to be really, really careful with your verbiage. And so we have a man who struggled. We saw it, and I just hope he gets the care he needs. I hope he doesn't have cancer. I hope he doesn't have, major brain atrophy. I just hope he can recover, but we need somebody who's the commander in chief who knows what they're doing. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, don't go away.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our Fantasy Football Pocket Guide for Beginners found on Amazon, or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, or on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So the CDC is now investigating a multi-state outbreak of listeria infections that have been linked to deli meat slices. 28 people have been infected with the outbreak of Listeria monocytogenes. This is being now reported in multiple states. Right as of today, I think 12. 28 people have been hospitalized and 2 people have died. One from Illinois and one from New Jersey. In interviews with those affected, 89% reported eating meats sliced at deli counters. Their investigation, they said, is ongoing to determine which deli meat may be contaminated. They don't have enough information to show that people are getting sick from prepackaged deli meats. They think this is a counter, going to the counter and getting the meat sliced. So you are at higher risk, they say, if you are possibly, they say people who are at higher risk. Oh, I'm sorry. If you are at higher risk, pregnant, very young, older individuals, immunocompromised, they are now telling you to avoid eating meats sliced at deli counters unless heated to an internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit or steaming hot just before serving. So let's say you want pastrami, you buy pastrami at the deli, they want you to heat it up to at least 165 degree internal temperature, or until steaming hot just before serving. They said clean your refrigerator containers and surfaces that may have touched sliced deli meats. Call your healthcare provider if you have symptoms of listeria, which could be nausea, vomiting, fever, fatigue, muscle aches. Now, listeria could, if it is not checked, could lead to miscarriage, stillbirth, premature delivery, and life-threatening infection of the newborn. Some people who are pregnant, people who are not pregnant and have listeria that start to advance, and I'm sure this could also happen in pregnant people as well. I'm sorry. The way this is written is a little off. I think they need to correct a couple things. But if listeria progresses from fever and the muscle aches and the fatigue, it could go into a meningitis or an encephalitis with headache, stiff neck, confusion, loss of balance, and convulsions. Symptoms of severe illness can start anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks after eating contaminated food with listeria, but can start as early as the same day. The CDC also, though, reminds us that sometimes you may not get symptoms till 70 days later. Now, 70 days from today would be, early May? I don't remember what I ate in early May, let alone what I bought from a grocery store, or if I, it's interesting. I was at a Vietnamese wedding, a 10-course Vietnamese wedding for 2 of my former students who actually they were supposed to get married in 2020. Because of COVID, they had to put off the wedding. And then they did kind of their wedding now, even though they did get married in a private ceremony before. And so it was a beautiful wedding. But on this seafood platter were cold cuts. So one of the courses, and there was some slices of ham. Now, I don't usually eat cold cuts or deli meat, but you see something like that, you might need to write down, because if there are issues later, then they're going to ask you, what did you eat? So you really need to kind of, now, by the way, I don't think it's a bad idea to write down what you eat. We tally our medications. Now, if anybody asks us what medications we're on, what do we take, the milligrams, we're able to reproduce that information. But what we put into our body from a food standpoint, are we very descriptive with that? I mean, I'll grab something off of, I don't know, one of the kids' plates, eat it. I won't even remember what I ate. sometimes I'm at work and my mind is, I don't even remember eating. And maybe we should do something like that. Maybe there really should be. So I know there's apps for people who are losing weight, but even if you're not losing weight, I think there should be just this general concern to document what you ate, especially since we're seeing a ton of vomiting and diarrhea. Norovirus was pretty prevalent a couple months ago, and I'm seeing, unfortunately, a lot of, just a lot of, shall we say, gastrointestinal issues, but we don't know for sure what's causing it. And so in order for us to make sure that there's not a restaurant or a grocery store that could be, giving us food that could be contaminated, I just think this is something that we should maybe think about. I mean, this is our body. And so I'll keep you guys posted. Listeria scares me. That outbreak back in, I think it was 2012, where we had miscarriages and people die, and it was linked to cantaloupe. Not cool. Now, this is, with what we know about foodborne illness and what we're able to do now in terms of our food protection and refrigeration, just not appropriate at all. So I would just kind of know what your foods are, and if at all you have an issue, let us know, or contact your medical provider. Now, another thing that's concerning me are these knockoff Ozempic GLP-1 pretenders, where there's medications that are flooding the market that are not FDA approved, and they are unbranded weight loss drugs, and they're trying to satisfy a market with a huge demand for Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, and Zepbound. And because those 4 medications are becoming less available because so many people want them, including diabetics who the medications were originally designed for, apparently there are companies trying to make copycat drugs. One person said that she did take it. She did not realize that it was a knockoff and started to have some severe side effects. And so there are other medication that some doctors might say you could use, like Rybelsus, Trulicity, and other things but one study showed that of these weight loss drugs, Mounjaro actually had performed better than Ozempic. They say patients taking Eli Lilly's new drug Mounjaro achieved significantly greater weight loss than those on the Novo Nordisk Ozempic. There was a head-to-head study published last week. Researchers looked at health records of more than 18,000 U.S. patients from May 2022 to September 2023, according to Science Alert, and being published in JAMA Internal Medicine. And they looked at the data between people taking the 2 injected medications. Average age of patients was 52 years old. 70% of them were female. Average baseline weight was 242 pounds. 52% of them had type 2 diabetes. And they said most patients achieve 5% or greater weight loss after 1 year. But Mounjaro achieved allegedly greater weight loss. They said 82% of those in the Mounjaro group saw 5% or greater weight loss compared to 67% of the Ozempic group. They said the results were 62% versus 37% for 10% or greater weight loss, and 42% were Mounjaro users versus 18% Ozempic for 15% or greater weight loss. That means if you weigh 200 pounds, you lost 30 pounds. So by the 12-month mark, the average patient on Mounjaro lost 7% more weight than Ozempic. So these medications, when people hear these things, they want, even if they can't get Mounjaro, they just want any. And so be very careful that there might be companies that are not using necessarily name brand. Every drug should have a lot number, and it should be able to be traced by a pharmacy, able to be traced by the FDA, so they know what's kosher or what isn't. And because there's such a rigorous approval process, and the FDA does have very strict standards for pharmaceuticals, if there is something that's a knockoff, it should be very easily able to be identified. But unfortunately, I think there's people out there that just don't care. They just want anything to help them lose weight. Well, these medications cost thousands of dollars, so that's one red flag. If somebody is selling you a Ozempic-like drug for $50, come on. Yeah, 1-877-Daliah, don't go away.
Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com.
Hotshot Secret, powered by science.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah and on Facebook, the Dr. Daliah Show. Okay, so whoa. I am a huge Lord of the Rings fan. And Lord of the Rings fans are a little bit peeved at being accused of being alt-right or far-right with insinuations made by Rachel Maddow. Now, I'm not sure why she started going in this direction. To go after Hollywood in a way, not something you usually see, especially from the left. But apparently, I think she was trying to criticize J.D. Vance. And so she said Lord of the Rings is sort of a favorite cosmos for naming things and cultural references for a lot of far-right and alt-right figures, both in Europe and the United States. She said that on Wednesday. I believe she was at the Republican convention. She noted that Peter Thiel, a billionaire venture capitalist and supporter of J.D. Vance, named one of his companies Palantir after, that's the ball, Lord of the Rings, that's the ball that allows Sauron to communicate, with the other, it kind of opens up portals of communication. It's that really cool looking ball. Listen, I have friends who live on streets that are named, Rivendell and named after Lord of the Rings streets. J.R.R. Tolkien and Dungeons and Dragons and orcs and ogres and all of that fantasy world is very, it's been ingrained in our literacy culture for decades. And so Lord of the Rings fans do not want that canceled or that started to be, how the American flag almost took a horrible turn with people saying, you have an American flag, you're alt-right, or you're right. Okay, we're Americans. It's okay to be, what's going on here? And I think journalists have a responsibility. Now, I know a lot of conservatives and liberals who love Lord of the Rings. So to say that, let's say Barack Obama, right, let's say he named something, let's say he named a puppy R2-D2. Are you going to say Star Wars is liberal and a representation of it just doesn't make sense. Okay. I mean, people like bagels and lox. Does that mean that what I notice irresponsible people do, whether it's in the media, whether it's on social media, whether it's in medicine, whether it's law, whatever, is they want to compartmentalize. They want to know and allow people to line up and separate to be able to be identified. And so, it's almost like we can't recognize you out there, and we need to know who you are. So if you carry a flag, you're right. If you like Lord of the Rings or you use any of the references to Lord of the Rings, you're right. If you use Barbie, you're left. Come on. Barbie's a toy. And I know they made the Barbie movie into something that was going to be a beacon of future liberal ideology. It's Barbie. The movie, they really should have done a better story. There was a lot of crying, and with the amazing cast and costumes, and I love that I'm Ken song. They really could have done so much more, especially made Barbie a real hero instead of her crying throughout the movie. So I really don't understand how that helped either side. But I think that's where we are right now, where people want to know if you're right or left. And so if they throw these little bitty kernels out there saying, the alt-right uses Lord of the Rings, they want people to be like, okay, well then I'm out. Lord of the Rings was playing again. It was on this weekend. Every time it's on, I might have it in the background. My 18-year-old cat, my cat that's turning 18 next month, he's probably seen it 2,000 times. I just love having it in the background, refill the line. And then, certain scenes I'll watch, especially the ones with Viggo Mortensen. By the way, Viggo Mortensen, I think, is very publicly liberal. So I don't think even the stars are going to want the insinuation that it's a alt-right. And so I think if you're in the media, you have a responsibility. But there, I think, is this pressure on people to know who they are. This is why I keep thinking we're gearing up for a civil war. I don't want there to be. But I think the powers that be want it. And they want sides. Okay, are you California or are you Florida? Are you Wisconsin or are you Texas? Are you Minnesota or are you Iowa? Okay, you could be Minnesotan and Republican or Democrat. That's what makes Minnesota great. You could be Iowan and you could be Republican or Democrat. That's what makes these states great. And it's almost like, well, then get out. If you don't want to be in California, you don't want to be in New York, get out. Well, no, that's not. If you're a New Yorker, you're a New Yorker. People put being a New Yorker first before politics. But I think the powers that be really want to know who you are. Remember, I had a patient that came up to me asking if I was Republican or Democrat and if I was voting for Obama or McCain. I'm like, I'm your doctor. I'm really not getting into politics. I see some pros and cons to their healthcare policies, but I'm not sold yet. But it's almost like they were only going to choose a doctor that was along their political philosophy. And this is the world we're turning into, where you'll even see websites and social media posts going, guys, these are the people that are pro Democrat. These are people that are pro-Republican. They try to out companies, maybe because they want boycotts or they want to help promote business. And I think if somebody does support If somebody supports our police, I saw that in Nashville. We support our first responders. It was a sign up. And I think that was pretty, if they want to use that for marketing, they support that. They have the power to do that. But I don't like these other individuals trying to figure out where we are and how to put a label, how to put a patch on you so then they can identify who you are. I'm telling you right now, people on the right will very gladly don the American flag. Oh my gosh, what's that Lord of the Rings necklace with the green leaf? You might be pro plants, pro EPA, pro green, and so you might really, really love. Oh my God, I can't think of the name of the. It's what Arwen gave Aragorn for her love, and it I think holds his cloak, and it's this. Yeah. Anyway, and it's. So if you don that means you're not Democrat, you're not liberal. It's so stupid. But I keep seeing this. Which side are you on? I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. I am very proud to don my Dallas Cowboy gear. I am an American. I am very proud to don the American flag. I love Lord of the Rings. I love Star Wars. But if you're going to try to lump me in to one extreme or another politically, you're wrong. And you're stupid. 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away.
Considered by most, optimized curcumin is one of the few bioavailable and highly absorbable curcumin products on the market. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch. Since most chronic diseases have inflammation, our optimized curcumin seems to be a perfect addition to any nutritional program. It makes sense to me that preventing or reducing inflammation is a key component to our overall health. The Mayo Clinic found that curcumin can decrease swelling and inflammation, has antioxidant properties, and research suggests that curcumin can prevent cancer, or at least slow the spread of cancer, and in many instances make chemotherapy more effective. It protects our healthy cells even from radiation. TotalWellness.com, where we help you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So safety is key. And our Secret Service, God bless the men and women who serve to protect our presidents, our former presidents, their families. There was a master fail with the July 13th shooting where Thomas Matthew Crooks, 20 years old, was able to climb to the roof of a sloped building 140 yards away from the former commander-in-chief in Butler, Pennsylvania, opening fire, killing bystanders, seriously wounding them and others, and then nearly assassinating our former president. And so Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle It was being grilled by Congress, didn't really say much. And you could even see both sides get angry. One Republican saying, it was BS what she was saying. One Democrat, I saw a little bit of it, trying to get her to say that guns are the problem. That it's that there being more guns out there is making the Secret Service more difficult. And she didn't want to say. She didn't want to comment on that. And so both Republicans and Democrats were pretty grumpy. I'm not sure if it's still going on, but you basically stonewalled most of the questions, saying it's an ongoing investigation. It's an ongoing investigation. And so, people are asking for her resignation. I don't want her to resign until we get more answers. That's why I had said firing her before today's hearing wouldn't have helped, but I stand corrected. We didn't really get much out of the hearing. One thing, though, that struck me is that the Secret Service has a $3.1 billion budget and over 8,000 employees. She wants another 2,000 more, but that's a lot. Especially for, I kept hearing the number 36 people they were providing Secret Service detail for, in terms of ex-presidents, ex-vice presidents, at NATO, certain others with the UN. So I wonder if that number's a little wrong. You would think that number would be a little bit more, especially since, Trump's family is pretty big and Biden's family is big, and I'm sure Hunter's cocaine is being watched also. But I don't want this to be a vilification or a witch hunt. What I want this to be is a learning. What exactly is going on? So we're being told that the Secret Service has had multiple failures, and having worked for the government myself and having seen how other companies are run, I'm not surprised. Back in 2015, the House Oversight Committee published a 200-page report on the United States Secret Service that described an agency in crisis. Now, this was 2015 when Obama was president. And we want to make sure our presidents and their families are safe so they could get the work done. You never ever want our leaders to have to fear for their lives. But they said there was systemic mismanagement, chronic underfunding, these are in quotes, extraordinary inefficient hiring process, and many employees do not have confidence in agency leadership. They say the report author from 2015 and former top oversight staffer Tristan Levitt now runs a whistleblower organization and told the Daily Mail that the Trump shooting elicited the similar problems. Almost a decade later, Levitt said it looks like Secret Service is suffering from some of the exact same problems it did 10 years ago. And didn't they have something where they were with prostitutes? Wasn't there a, Cartagena, Colombia? During a presidential visit when Obama was there in April 2012, 13 agents took prostitutes back to their hotel rooms. 4 of those 13 were fired, 5 resigned, 1 retired. I'm not sure where, the other ones are. Back in 2015 in March, they said there was an incident where 2 intoxicated senior Secret Service officials, including a top official on the president's protective detail, interfered with a crime scene involving a bomb threat outside the White House grounds. Again, they should understand that there's a protocol, a systemic protocol that is supposed to be followed for something like this. So that's a little confusing. And then, I guess in 2014, Barack Obama, president at the time, was in an elevator with an armed guard who had a criminal history of 3 arrests, including shooting at a fleeing vehicle with a child inside. Why was Obama in an elevator with somebody who could have hurt him and wasn't vetted? There was a veteran who jumped the White House fence in September 2014. Yeah, so now there's a chance. I mean, this report was in 2015, so it detailed all that. I don't have a lot of the stories post that, unless maybe Trump cleaned things up. I don't know. But there were a lot of issues. They said that we were told in 2015 that internal recommendations for the 1990s hadn't been fully implemented due to willful United States Secret Service blindness. Fundamentally, the Secret Service needs to be restructured. They said mission creep has added collateral missions like cyber investigations and other non-essential duties that distract them from the number one job, keeping current, former, and future leaders of the free world safe from harm. So many of us have worked at companies where we just don't have the budget. Anytime we ask for something, they say no. And then when you offer to cut something else, they won't put the money to what that needs to be done. They'll just cut your budget even more. So you end up staying silent. And you end up just letting the BS continue to happen. $3.1 billion annual budget. Now, I get it. If you are going to hire Secret Service agents, you want to pay them well. I mean, they are putting their lives on the line. And those who jump to protect the former president with their lives, wow, you can't pay them enough. But $3.1 billion? What the heck is going on? Now, when will the Director Cheadle have answers? We're being told, or we were told today, that it would be within 60 days. Now, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat from New York, as well as Representative Andy Briggs, a Republican from Arizona, both agreed that that's inappropriate. So it was very interesting to see the right and the left somehow, and because obviously I think they see that if the Secret Service failed with Trump, they could fail with anybody. But there are a lot of questions, and I'm no conspiracy theorist, but I can understand why there's a lot of questions. How did some 20-year-old punk outsmart the Secret Service? Secret Service said they had the adequate number of staff. They are not blaming being understaffed at Trump's event. Well, then, if it wasn't a staffing issue, then they were undermanaged and then underperformed. And I want to say that it was Secret Service that was the pivotal moment when Trump's life was saved, but it was Trump's head turn. It was God's intervention with him looking at that immigration thing that did it. Then, yes, Secret Service killed the shooter, which was very integral in saving everybody's lives. But it wasn't that first moment. So why didn't the prevention of it is under a lot of scrutiny? 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.